In this video, we're going to address the elephant in the room. Are Minas Tirith just dwarves but not as good? Here we've got Minas Tirith's famous shield wall and the Dwarven contingent. We're going to compare these and we're going to see just how similar they are and which is better. First off, let's look at defence. The shield wall for Minas Tirith is a tough nut to crack. While they're only defence 6, they have the special rule shield wall. And that means that when they're in this kind of close-knit formation, when each of the warriors is in base contact with at least 2 friendly models with the shield wall special rule, they go up to defence 7. They gain +1 defence. However, when we compare that to the dwarves already have defence 7 and they don't rely on formation. This means that in the heat of battle, when the lines are clashing and everyone's moving around, the forces of Minas Tirith are going to lose their extra defence, but the dwarves carry it with them wherever they go. So already we're seeing that Minas Tirith are just trying to be like the dwarves, but not succeeding. They're trying to get up to that high defence, but not doing it as well as the dwarves. Minas Tirith do have the advantage of spears in this situation. However, the dwarves can spread their line. As you can see here, the dwarves, soon as the fighting takes place, they can just move around and surround and not only mitigate the lack of spears, but can also turn that to their advantage by using their full weight of numbers to start getting traps. So I would argue that we can just ignore the spears and lack of spears. Or at least it has less of an impact than we might originally think. Next to discuss is fight value. Minas Tirith are adept at using different formations to increase their fight value. This standard formation here is cheap and cheerful, but it's only fight 3. With a snap of our fingers, we have replaced those spearmen there with some rangers. These rangers have spears, just the same, but they also have fight value 4. And they also bring bows to the party to provide that little bit of ranged threat. Minas Tirith now in the shield wall is fight value 4. They are going to be able to rival those more elite forces. Although when the fighting does start and the lines begin to clash and things start getting killed and moving around, those Minas Tirith warriors are not always going to be supported, so it is still only an initial boost to their ranks. The dwarves, on the other hand, are naturally fight value 4, and again, just like their defence, they carry that with them wherever they go. The dwarves too can swap out their back rank for bows. Yes, they've not got the spears, but again, they would just do that wide formation as we've already seen. But instead, these bows form the same function of keeping the enemy on their toes at range, and then they come and join the fray. But unlike the rangers, these archers are defence 6. The rangers, on the other hand, are only defence 4 and are going to go down like paper. It's also worth noting that while the dwarf bows have a slightly shorter range, they do pack more of a punch. The rangers' bows are only strength 2, but the dwarf bows are strength 3. Again, everything that the men of Minas Tirith can do, the dwarves can do better. So On fight value then, it does seem like the Dwarves have it. And on range, it's probably fairly even because having that shorter range does hurt the Dwarves, but their bows are stronger. And in some scenarios, that can really come in handy. If we're ignoring the bows, we can swap them back out to frontline infantry and we can further bolster that Minas Tirith line. We're now seeing my favourite version of the Minas Tirith shield wall. That's those warriors of Minas Tirith backed up by mighty Fountain Court Guard. The Fountain Court Guard have much tougher defence than the Rangers. They're not going to get shot out. When they get into combat, they're not just going to go down easily. And they bring that fight value 4. And importantly, they bring bodyguard. Very useful end game and for keeping anything terror-causing at bay. But again, they're just trying to bring to the party what Dwarves already have. This front line, when it gets separated from the spear supports, is still only fight 3. And the edges of the shield wall formation are not going to be benefiting from their +1 defence, so they're more vulnerable to arrow fire and they are more vulnerable in combat, only being defence 6, because the rear wall there of Fountain Court Guard don't have the shield wall special rule. Again, the Dwarves take their defence wherever they go, but Minas Tirith require on a lot of situational factors. Let's also talk Khazad Guard. We've brought in the elite infantry of Minas Tirith, and so it's only fair that the Dwarves can do the same. Let's compare the Khazad Guard to the Fountain Court Guard. Now, Minas Tirith's Fountain Court Guard with a shield is the same point as a Khazad Guard, so this is quite a fair comparison. The Fountain Court Guard is defence 7. Doesn't rely on any special rules, he carries that with him, defence 7. He is bodyguard, so he won't run from a fight as long as the leader's alive, and he'll be able to charge what he needs to charge. He's also fight value 4. Brilliant stat line, he is a solid choice. The Khazad Guard has all of that. He's also bodyguard, he's also defence 7, he's also fight 4. But crucially, he is also strength 4. He's stronger. He's going to be able to bring down those defence 6 enemies much, much easier. He's also got a two-handed weapon, so he can crack tougher targets with ease. When you're comparing these two, one-on-one, the Khazad Guard is probably going to come out on top. Yet again, Minas Tirith just trying to do what the Dwarves do, but not as well. So far, what we've seen then is that Minas Tirith versus the Dwarves, when you compare them shield wall to shield wall, just those infantry on infantry, the Dwarves are better. That Minas Tirith have a lot of tricks, but that all those tricks are just trying to bring them up to the level that the Dwarves are already at. So why then, if that's the case, do we not see Dwarves all the time and never see Minas Tirith? Why is it that Minas Tirith remains a popular army and the Dwarves, while they do see some games, are not the meta-controlling force? And I think the answer to that is the humble horse. For all their strengths, the Dwarves lack mobility. In a straight-out scrum, the Dwarves are probably going to come out on top, but a lot of scenarios require mobility. And the humble horse provides that to Minas Tirith in spades. We can mount a warrior of Minas Tirith, give him a lance, and suddenly we have someone that can go off and grab objectives. But more than that, he can outflank and he can smash in using that lance for +1 to wound to give him some more damage potential. Something that the dwarves just don't have. They've got massive damage output from the Khazad Guard, but they don't have the knockdowns that horses give them. And then the humble horse can, when it comes to heroes, take them to another level. If we throw a tabard over that horse and we stick Aragorn on top, he goes from being able to rival a dwarven hero to being able to smash a dwarven hero. He is going to get, assuming he's got the charge, double attacks because he's knocked them down, and he is just going to be tearing stuff apart. Mounting heroes is huge. And with his Horse Lord and 3 points of fate, that horse is not going down easily. Again, this is something the dwarves just cannot compete with. So there we have it. The forces of Minas Tirith, as we've shown, are just dwarves, but not as good. In the grind, in that shield wall on shield wall, they have a lot of tricks to bring them up to the level of the dwarves, but they are not quite able to cut the mustard. But they've got the mobility to be able to compete, and that gives them enough of an edge that they are still a brilliant force and a popular choice. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for keeping with us. Please do like, comment and subscribe to support the channel, and I'll see you next time.